What's up, party people, and welcome back to another episode of NYC Foodways, your weekly food and culture discussion from the cultural capital of the world. My name is John, and this week's episode is dedicated to the life and legacy of murdered journalist
Anna Politkovskaya,
who knew exactly how high the stakes were and refused, to the very end, to fold. 1929 was a momentous year in New York City's history. That year, Joseph Mitchell, this channel's food-loving patron saint, arrived in New York with literary intentions. And Eisenberg's sandwich shop, the subject of today's episode, opened at 174 Fifth Avenue. Oh, and the crash on Wall Street heralded the onset of the Great Depression, the worst economic downturn of the 20th century, or something. Eisenberg's sandwich shop held strong for 92 years in a city where I'd consider a restaurant that survives for 92 months to be a fixture of the streetscape. It held strong through some of the grimmest and some of the brightest times for our fair city. It held strong as the block, the neighborhood, the city that surrounded it changed, then changed again, then changed once more, continuing to shed what the economic forces that govern us deemed to be unnecessary, that is, not massively income generating, until, in May of 2021, Eisenbergs could hold strong no longer. I have tried to bright side the passing of some of the old New York in previous episodes, but the loss of Eisenbergs is one I may never recover from. It was the New York I love encapsulated in an institution. Joseph Mitchell, forgive me, but I would trade McSorley's for Eisenbergs. There, I said it. Yes, McSorley's predated Eisenberg's by 40 plus years. Yes, McSorley's is both a legitimate eating and drinking establishment. Yes, Mitchell adored McSorley's and never wrote a word about Eisenberg's to my knowledge. Likely because, back in the day, places like Eisenberg's were garden variety restaurants, not the last remaining place of its kind in Manhattan. Yikes. Actually, this discussion is dumb and pointless and a little cringe and smacks far too strongly of the bargaining stage of grief. Trading McSorley's for Eisenberg's. Ridiculous. Why can't New Yorkers have both? Why is it always lamentations we recite, and with increasing frequency? Why is so much of what makes this city great, for the people that actually live here, being extinguished? How could a nearly century-old lunch counter in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the world not be deemed a city treasure and kept alive against all opposition? Manhattan is not generating legendary businesses built to last of any sort, especially not food businesses. How many more times will those of us who care about the food and culture of this town have our hearts broken? Do the powers that be simply not care about preserving this city's food culture? Apparently not. There is a landmarks commission that can stop certain buildings from being torn down, whole neighborhoods perhaps. But what of the businesses that make these neighborhoods real? There is no aspect of Eisenberg's demise that I can bright side, no spin I can make on its death, so as to convince the NYC Foodways viewers that it will all be okay, that it was the right time, that it was good while it lasted. Of course, it was good while it lasted, but it should still be lasting. I strive to be abundant in all areas, but this is one in which I find myself scarce. I'm pissed, man. It did not have to end like this. It just didn't. As you may have noticed, I've sort of stopped hating on the Times as much recently, and I gotta give them respect for their respect for Eisenberg's. There have been more than a few pieces written directly about the place in recent years, along with some nods in other articles. There was this short write-up from 2006 about the sale of the business to a regular, Josh Konecki, a self-described preservationist who, according to the article, had such a taste for old New York he wanted to eat it. I know the feeling. As part of the Times 2009 project 1 in 8 million, in which they profiled a different New Yorker each week, we meet lawyer William A. Thomas, 46. He works on Lower Fifth Avenue and isn't much of a cook, so when I discovered Eisenberg's, he says, I just sort of decided that's where I was going to eat lunch most of the time. He continues, there's very little on their menu I would not want to eat. The lunch meats are all terrific, the brisket is terrific, the whitefish salad sandwich is fabulous. Of the lunchtime crowd, he notes that there are a handful that I see there virtually every day. There are 2 or 3 that I talk to with some regularity and whose names I know. There's one in particular, a fellow named Paul, who I frequently sit next to. It's my sense he's been going there for at least as long as I've been going there. One tends to regard these people as a species of family. This is so New York you can practically hear the accent. In 2010, the Times food editor Sam Sifton, who is the man by the way, fielded questions from readers about dining in the city. One was looking to eat at a place that hasn't changed much in both atmosphere and cuisine since the 1940s. Can you guess where he recommended they go? In a 2016 piece covering the book A Square Meal, A History of American Food in the Great Depression, which is a fantastic idea for a book, the authors meet the Times journalist for dinner, of course, at Eisenbergs. In a 2017 real estate article describing what it's like to live in the Flatiron, must be nice, Eisenbergs is mentioned as a dining destination in the same breath as the Gramercy Tavern, which is just... And, fittingly, the final appearance of Eisenbergs in the Times, that I could find at least, was the pull photo from an article on the writings of local blogger Jeremiah Moss, whose project Vanishing New York is absolutely an influence on this channel. Jeremiah Moss prefers a Manhattan with Eisenberg's sandwich shop in it, the caption of the photo reads. Don't we all? This place was so magical in terms of history, ambiance, and layout, the classic NYC restaurant grid of tables jammed together on every conceivable square foot, that the fact that the food was amazing is almost beside the point. Almost. They had it all, at least all that one could want for breakfast or lunch. Jewish-inflected diner fare with good portion sizes and low prices, practically subterranean prices when you consider the cost of doing business in the Flatiron District. Eisenbergs actually serve fresh, hot matzo brie year-round, along with liverwurst sandwiches, combination sandwiches featuring chopped liver and turkey or brisket or pastrami, lime rickeys, egg creams, malted milkshakes, along with lox and a number of preparations. Until not long before it shut down, Eisenbergs even had daily specials, something I find adorable for reasons I can't quite explain. Monday and Wednesday featured beef knockwurst, Tuesday and Thursday brought meatloaf, and Friday was seafood day, which is so randomly Catholic I cannot even. Eisenberg's was known for their Reuben sandwiches, which aren't my personal favorite, but the clientele loved them. Naturally, a place this busy and in such a well-traveled area carries a, you guessed it, 3.5-star Yelp rating. Fail. Eisenberg's kept their prices so low you could get a full breakfast sandwich with coffee, tax, and tip for under $10. Back when I ate freely, I liked to go there for a morning meal when I didn't have much to do that day. The AM vibe was great. High energy, yes, but warm and never chaotic. Busy always, but I never felt rushed. I generally sat at the counter so I could see the workers in action. Like any well-oiled service industry machine, they moved with the skilled precision of a dance troupe, without a wasted motion. The early crowd was always interesting, a mix of suits, workmen, a few families, tourists who had heard about this place and made it a destination, and tourists who had wandered in and were clearly taken by the experience of dining inside a living relic of New York City's food history. An experience, I must bitterly restate, now only accessible through the fog of memory. Eisenberg's was, in a lot of ways, a microcosm of the city itself, or at least the city as I wish it to be, but perhaps no longer is. Approachable, idiosyncratic, of high quality, layered with history, drenched in charm, laid out puzzlingly, and with an aura, an energy, a feeling that one really had to experience to understand. I too prefer a Manhattan with Eisenberg sandwich shop in it. And now it's gone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for another episode of NYC Foodways. Peace.